One of my biggest lessons and insights for myself in my personal development journey is just how often and how much feelings can be lies. Feelings can be liars, big time. And that I know is unpopular to say. I was debating this with a friend of mine recently, and his perspective and stance is that you need to really take a look at your feelings, dive into your feelings, process your feelings, figure out what's behind the feelings, underneath the feelings, around the feelings. And along that vein and along that line of thinking, I'm not here to say that you should suppress your feelings, repress your feelings, or try to escape them. Because if you engage in those activities, that'll often lead to a lot of different kinds of behaviors and actions that end up being what we would consider or call addictions, right? Abuse of things, drugs, alcohol, gambling, seeking validation a lot of different ways, so on and so forth. Like if you read the book Letting Go, right? Dr. David Hawkins does a really good job of laying out and explaining what feelings and emotions can do in us if we suppress them and repress them and try to escape them. However, from my personal experience, I have to bring this up and share it. It's now widely understood that the thoughts that you're going to have are going to be downstream, usually from the energetic state you're in and the kind of feelings you're having, right? And then the feelings that you're having are usually based upon the kind of thoughts you're holding. So it's like this virtuous loop of either good thoughts, good feelings, bad thoughts, bad feelings, and the one follows the other. Like they say, the body follows the mind and the mind follows the body. Thoughts follow feelings, feelings follow thoughts. Now, if you're having an experience in your life where you're regularly experiencing, let's say, some sort of negative feelings, right? And those negative feelings are downstream from negative thoughts, negative beliefs, and your feelings are usually the single biggest determinant and indicator of the action that you're going to take or not take. And the consistent action that you do or don't take is the single biggest leading indicator and determinant of what kind of outcomes and results you are going to get or won't get. If we constantly just wallow in our feelings and try to dive into them and figure them out, won't we then be building an altar, if you will, around broken beliefs, negative thoughts, and just basically building a camp there and making that our permanent address, our permanent location as a human? Two things I want to say about this. One, what you feed is what you need. This is a saying I came up with a couple of years ago. Whatever you start feeding on constantly, you end up constantly craving more and more of it. You with me? If you start feeding yourself alcohol all the time, you then end up needing it more and more. If you feed yourself sugar all the time, you end up craving it and needing it all the time. If you feed yourself pornography all the time, you end up needing it and wanting more and more of it all the time, right? And this applies to everything, it seems like, across the board. If you feed yourself working hard, you end up needing to work hard to feel good. If you feed yourself good habits, you end up then needing and wanting to stick with good habits. What you feed is what you need. Whatever you start feeding yourself, you will develop an appetite and a taste for and need it. Now, if you are constantly feeding yourself and feeding on figuring out your feelings and why you feel bad and what's behind your feelings, what happened in your childhood, how does your birth chart, how does your birth order affect this? How does your early childhood experiences affect this? What does your horoscope say about this? if you constantly are feeding on that, you will start to need that. And the brain, the human mind, is absolutely next level amazing at constantly coming up with new little things that we're going to chase after and go after and want to just learn from. Oh, I'm like this because my mom yelled at me when I didn't do the dishes. Oh, that explains why I have a block to doing work. You get what I'm saying? Like, you'll always find these little big aha insights. But if the principle is what you feed is what you need, and that's constantly what you're going after, your mind will find ways for you to find more things to keep going after. As I've said in previous videos, your brain's number one job is your survival. And the best way to predictably survive the future is to always repeat the past, because you have survived 100% of the days in your past. So your brain will do everything it can to keep you stuck where you're at in your life because you've survived it up until now. Second thing, let's say that you're having a series of negative feelings, bad feelings, whatever it might be. If you were to just absolutely ignore those feelings, 1. 2, pick a really huge goal to go after. 3, truly actually give it your level best, like gun to your head, back up against the wall, do or die kind of effort, and just lock in like a pit bull on a bone and just get after it. You would make massive amounts of progress in your life. See, I did this recently. A couple of years ago, 3 years ago now, I think it was, I just came to a place in my life where I said, I've grown a lot, I've done a lot in my life, but I'm now going to level up. I'm going to max out. I'm going to find out just how far I can take this in life. And so I transformed my physique, exponentially leveled up my finances, changed my social circles, changed my physical environment and even where I lived, what state I lived in, just like moved to a completely different state. Like, I just literally transformed my entire life. Now, let me tell you something. When you take a massive amount of action on a clear destination and you let nothing stand in the way, right? And you just keep getting after it and you start getting the results, do you know what happens? Your feelings change, right? Like, when I really locked into my elevation and transformation, I was fat, didn't nearly have the money I wanted, lived in an environment I didn't enjoy, right? 2 years later, I've exponentially leveled up my finances. I have veins in my lower abs. That's how jacked I am. My environment is completely different, socially, culturally, relationally, etc. The feelings I regularly have became radically different. Now, if I had just stayed brooding and mooding over my feelings that I had back then and trying to figure out what is the pain and the problem behind my life, I would have just kept going in a circle, just chasing my own tail, always getting deeper into the psychosis of things, the psyche of things, which is really, I think, becomes a neuroses in and of itself. However, if you just take action, get clear on where you want to go, fully committed in mindset, mind, spirit, and body, just all in, I'm going to do this, right? And then lock in and do not deviate until you get the outcome that you want. Your feelings change. So what's the point then of absolutely, mooding and brooding and festering over your feelings that you have right now if they're not good, strong, empowered feelings? Because what you feed is what you need. If you start feeding on that, you're going to want to know more about that and need that, and that becomes your identity. Or just change your life, elevate yourself, and your feelings change, right? Because they will. If you change your life dramatically, your feelings will change dramatically. So Dwelling on, mooding on, brooding on, festering on feelings doesn't change your life. You can gain some insights, you can learn some things about yourself. But the main purpose is really, I think, to elevate, to just take your life to the next level, and your feelings change along the way. You get what I'm saying? So I'll wrap up with this. There's a quote in a movie where Sean Connery looks at Nicolas Cage, and they're about to have a really important scene in the movie where they're about to, make some big things happen. And Sean Connery looks at Nicolas Cage and says, "You can handle all that." And Nicolas Cage says, "I'll do my best." And Sean Connery looks at him and goes, "Your best? Losers whine about their best. Winners take the prom queen home and fuck her." And that's what I'm talking about here. See, people who are not winning and not crushing it at life are always whining about their feelings, their best, figuring themselves out, what's causing me to be this way. But the winners, the people who just who win, who just do the damn thing, get the outcome, they get the prize. Their feelings are different by default. So, go win.